surgical, to be targeted, to be reasonable. And we want the pain to be shared. We know public sector unions are under attack and they're going to be taking a hit. We know we're going to be taking a hit. And we want the folks who are more off to do their share. HSC is asking for a comprehensive look at how the state, so that we can see what the state owes its constituents in terms of police protection, fire protection, smooth roads, and a social safety net. It's a commitment the state has made to its people. We would like the governor and the legislative leaders to appoint a commission to look at what the state owes its citizens, how much it costs, and then have a rational taxing structure to pay for it. But while this is being done, we need an extension of the PIT surcharge, the personal income tax surcharge. The poor should not have to pay for the mistakes of the rich in this climate. It's my pleasure to introduce again Senator Savino and to present you with the petition, which is only still a work in progress, of the Who Cares I Do campaign.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. I think I was the first legislator to sign on.
Yes, you are.
On the Who Cares I Do, but I think we need to kind of pump it up. You just can't say Who Cares I Do. You got to say Who Cares I Do. We all care.
So who cares?
I do.
Say it with some feeling.
I do.
You know, I've only recently been appointed chair of the Children and Families Committee, and for me it's been somewhat of a homecoming. I'm most closely aligned with the labor movement in the legislature. Most people know me. Union I came out of. I was the vice president of the Social Service Employees Union, Local 371 in the city of New York. I was a caseworker for the city's child welfare system. I worked for the super agency, HRA, before they started breaking it up into little divisions because they thought somehow that would provide better services. I've worked with many of your organizations over the years advocating in the city of New York to preserve the services that we rely on there for the most vulnerable of our communities. And I was actually quite surprised on the state level that I don't generally see the same level of cooperation and advocacy between the state workers' unions and the Human Service Council and their organizations. And I think that is a problem, and I think it's something we really need to work on and address. Budget. The interesting thing about budgets is they are purely political documents. They reflect the priorities of the budget makers. And while we know the state of New York probably does spend too much money in some areas and not enough in others, and taxes in some areas and not enough on income tax in other areas, we know that. We can see that in the $400 million that Michael talked about. From one pot to another, pitting children against seniors. For the city of New York, but around the state. It's local discretionary money. You know this. And if we're going to take money from senior services to backfill into child welfare services, which we are mandated to provide, begs the question, what happened to the child welfare money? Where is that gone? Why are we pitting children against seniors? Why are we saying that we cannot provide basic senior services, a simple meal for many? For many of them, it's the only meal they get all day. Why are we saying that we want to protect children, but we want to also pull the money out of preventive services? Why do we talk about right-sizing our juvenile justice system and then eliminating and zeroing out all of the programs that will allow us to achieve that juvenile justice reform? It's inconsistent. It doesn't make any sense. Now, I will tell you, I think we're making progress. I've spoken to many of the members of the Senate, many of the members of the Assembly. I know Assemblywoman Amy Poland is not here, but her staff is here, and I'm sure they could attest to this. Both houses are prepared to reject this Title 20 shift in our one-house budget bills because it's the wrong way to go about doing this. Both houses are probably going to reject a lot of this PIP money program, which, quite frankly, those of you who are engaged in preventive services know that this is not a 60% cut. This is a 100% cut. Because if you zero out all programs and you create a new process for all of you to apply and you reduce the funding by 60%, by the time you all figure out how to apply, you won't have gotten a dime. So it's a 100% cut. We say no to that. We want to right-size our juvenile justice system. We want to provide child protective services and support. We want to enhance our kinship guardianship programs. We want to continue the progress of where we've come from. 20 years ago when I started in the system, it was a disaster. We had caseloads this high. We don't want to go back to those days. It's dangerous for children, it's dangerous for seniors, it's dangerous for our disabled. It is the wrong message. Now, as I said, I've been reacquainted with the industry somewhat. And I will tell you, I've realized that many of you are far smarter than we are. You know where efficiencies can be found in your programs. You know what makes sense. You know how to deliver services better than we can. And I have been very happy to have received a lot of suggestions from your industry. I met yesterday with the Protestant Board of Welfare Agencies. They gave us some ideas on how to reduce our child care expenditures at the same time preserving child care for working families. We're going to include that in our one-house budget recommendation. We're going to make the choices. We're going to make some hard choices. We're going to have cuts. We know that. But as Michael said, these cuts should be surgical, should not be done with a hatchet, and it should be done with preserving and protecting the most vulnerable in our society, who, as you pointed out, were not responsible for this crisis. They should not pay the price twice. So this is like a campaign. It's like a political, the governor's running a political campaign, we're running a political campaign. We're reminding people that this budget reflects the priorities of the people who were sent to Albany. That includes the governor of the state of New York. I don't believe he wants to hurt poor people. I think he got bad advice from his budget director. That's the truth. And it's up to us to explain to him why he can still be successful this year. He can tackle inefficiency in government, and he can still provide needed services to the people who need it the most. So who cares?
I do.